Winston Gatonga, welcome
Thank
to,
you, thank you.
Yes, Now We Sip Champagne. So what are we going to be sipping on today?
Oh, I love a good whiskey, so what do we have?
Well, today I think that we're gonna pour some stag. I feel like it's a stag kind of day. So how would you like that? Would you like that
On the
neat?
rocks.
On the rocks,
On the
you
rocks.
got it. We have these single cubes here for you, sir. And I would love to put that inside of here for you. And you know, I'm actually going to try a little bit.
Try a little bit?
I'm gonna
You
try a
have
little
to.
bit neat, and
Yeah.
then I'm probably gonna have on the rock as well, but let's go ahead and we'll do a little bit like this, and then a little bit like this. And put that here, and yeah, please, sir. Now we sip not just champagne, but whiskey too.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Winston Gatonga, welcome to Now We Sip Champagne. So let me tell you, because I had a lot of conversations about starting this podcast, and everyone has a podcast now. Your mom probably has a podcast. I definitely know my mom would have a podcast if
Everybody
I
has
let
a
her.
podcast.
Everyone has a podcast. Everyone has a podcast. So like here I am, you know, but like sometimes you just got to lean into what you were given, and you know,
That's just what life is.
yeah, and I never shut up. So if this is just like
Makes sense.
perfect for me. You know, I was never good at the influence or like the tricks and stuff like that. As much as I would love to like do the Nicki Minaj challenge, I'm much more
So the
just
channel where you crush your feet and
yes,
you say,
and
oh
you
my
get on, and
God.
I can get on something high. I was thinking I could get on a ladder and put my Louboutins on and get the grinder and like grind something, but I was like, I really just don't have the time for that. And like, who's gonna fucking film me? Because it's like always me. But so welcome to this podcast. Welcome to this episode, and I want it to be known that you were my very first person that I interviewed or that I spoke to, because I'm not sure when it's going to be released, right? So there's been a lot of opinion on who you should launch as your first guest, right? It should be a big
name.
It should be, yes, right?
Yeah.
So get someone that's
Not
going to get,
Winston.
yeah. But I feel like that wouldn't be true to who I am, because in order for me to start anything truly successful, if I go back to anything I've ever done that's been truly monumental, truly iconic, you were at the start of it. And so I can't do anything else, I feel like, in this life without you being at the very, very beginning, because at the very, very beginning of my career, of deciding that I was going to open my own place, you were the only one that stuck by me. You were the only one that encouraged me, and when I got all the no's, you were my only yes. So we're going to get into that, but before we get into that, this is a podcast where, again, everyone does a lot of talking, but we're going to do some sipping here, right?
We have to.
We need to do some
That's the reason
sipping.
why I'm here.
Is the reason why you're here. This is another thing that people were a little, they had their opinions about on what we should be sipping on. So now the name of the podcast is Now We Sip Champagne, right? And so this is from Biggie's Juicy. This is a lyric from his song, and you know that champagne problems, you ever heard of it? Is something, it's a term that we all know, right? You come from nothing, you then become something. Real problems are you can't pay your rent, your kids are starving, you're out on the street, and my favorite version of champagne problems is Biggie's Juicy. Christmas missed us, and now we sip champagne when we thirsty. So I felt like it's important that while we're going to be sipping on what we're sipping on here, I think that especially for this first one, we need to sip on a little champagne.
No, we need to
sip on a little champagne. And when I say champagne, I'm sorry, France, because this is not champagne. This is California sparkling wine, but this was what Annie, my mother, gave me. It's a Las Vegas limited edition. You don't even know. There's not anything else really on this other than it's a Las Vegas, welcome to Las Vegas. And I thought that it would be fitting because I was born and raised in Las Vegas.
I'm on it.
The Las Vegas girl came to
some
New York.
some fresh effervescence from that glass.
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
We need some bubbles. So 6 turns on a cage, we know, and we're going to give it a little spin here. And we're going to pop the cork. Oh, that was very nice. There you are, sir, for that. And this is our, it doesn't even have. Usually I teach the champagne wrist. You get the little bubble. Then you know, this was really just bottled in the back of like the MGM Grand or something like that. But
some wise guys were back there.
Yeah. Probably at the Bonanza. Actually, it probably was at the Bonanza gift shop. That place is iconic. So So instead of just sipping on champagne, where some people be confused, why is this podcast called Now We Sip Champagne? Yes, we're going to sip on champagne, but we're going to be sipping on a lot of things because champagne is a representation of so many things. We know that it's something that you pour when you're celebrating something. We know that it's also something that only a few could afford at some time. And as two people that went from nothing to something, we are going to sip on that. So, Winston, may we please
cheers.
have a little cheers
Yeah.
to Now We Sip Champagne. It's terrible. It tastes exactly.
Reminds me of Vegas.
It tastes exactly like something you would get in Las
Listen,
Vegas.
You know what it reminds me of? 6 a.m.
Yeah.
in Vegas.
You know what? A couple more drinks and we'll drink the whole bottle. Yeah. It'll be fine. It tastes like a very fine grape juice.
There you go.
So that's okay, Vegas. We love you, and obviously I wouldn't be here without you. So let's actually have a sip of what we started sipping on. You're a whiskey man.
Yeah, whiskey man. Yeah,
you're a whiskey man, and I'm a whiskey girl. So cheers to a little bit of whiskey because
sip champagne.
Sip champagne.
Throw it back with whiskey.
So much better.
Yeah.
See, now the pod's going to be fun. You got to make it fun because, everyone's going to get bored just hearing me talk this entire time. So, all right. So, let's change gears. Let's focus a little bit. So, Winston, you are a real estate agent.
Yep.
You work for the F&B Group, and you have worked for them for 12 years?
12 years.
12 years. And before that, you were with Cam Realty.
Cam Hospitality, yeah.
Cam Hospitality. So you've been an agent now, real estate agent, for about 14 years.
About 14 years, yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah. And what did you happen to do before you were a real estate agent?
Doing what you were doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And not only by doing what you're doing, because, I do a lot of things, but you were actually an owner.
Yeah, but prior to ownership, it goes back to 92. First job in the business. McDonald's. Right? You just out of high school, you need a job, you need to be mobile, you need to have some money in your pocket.
Yeah.
Get a job at McDonald's. And I just loved it. Weirdly enough, I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
Working late, closing.
Yeah.
Some days you'd have to open. But, you go through the process from McDonald's, jump to Houlihan's, bartending in the 90s. And from there, coming to the city, getting a job at Casa La Femme, which is like one of the hottest lounges in the early 2000s, the 99, and celebrities everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then opening Tao, being part of the Tao group, working there and seeing a lot of crazy stuff and making a lot of money. But always knowing that I wanted something more. There was always this back of my brain. I was like, there's got to be more. I need more. Business is calling me. I need to do something. So prior to when I was at Tao, we created a website called ShiftDrink, shiftdrink.com. This is when Eater was new. This is when Facebook was just new. So this idea of bringing people together on the hospitality side was something that was so appealing to me and a couple of my buddies. So we put together this website, and this is before we had cell phone. We had cell phones, but we had apps. The iPhone. So it was crazy. It was exciting to be part of that, and it was successful for a little bit. It was good.
And Shift Drink was what? What did it do exactly?
So we were trying to create a website that sort of almost like a LinkedIn for hospitality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you could go in and you can get jobs. You could network. There were reviews, but not just reviews of restaurants, because that was a big thing back then. Every Wednesday, the New York Times would come out with who's getting 2-3 stars, who's getting reviewed, and all this stuff. So we felt like there are no questions about the hospitality people. No one's telling their story. So we wanted to tell that story. Who's your bartender? Who's your server? Who's your barback?
Who's your real estate agent?
Yeah, but at that time we didn't know that. By the time,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that was the idea behind it, right? Because we felt like there's a lot of great stories with the staff. They make the space. Granted, the idea, you need the staff. You need your bartenders. You need your hostess. You need right? So we wanted to tell that story. And we felt like that was something that was missing in that space because food was getting to be popular. It was becoming this amazing new niche that everybody loved, and who's got the hottest restaurant, and where's everybody going, and who's done this, who's doing that. But no one talked about the back of the house. No one talked about the front of the house. No one talked about the bartender. No one talked about the server. You know, the maitre d'. Who was the cool maitre d', right? So we created Shifting to highlight that, but also to help people get jobs and also network, right? And one of the greatest things that we had was called the Inside Scoop. And the idea behind that was if I was trying to get a job at Champagne Problems, I would go on Shift Drink and search up Champagne Problems, and then there'll be an Inside Scoop section where maybe one of the staff members had sort of said, what is it like to work here? What are the hours? What's the money like?
Oh my God, thank God we don't have that for Champagne
Yeah,
Problems.
yeah.
She's
But
a bitch.com.
but you know, so it was like, you know, is there a family meal? What's
Yes,
the family
right,
meal
right,
look
right,
like?
yeah.
Right? Do they offer health care?
Yeah.
Right? Is management pretty tough on you? Like, what is it like to work here?
Yes.
So we felt like that was something that would be really help people, and I think would help restaurants do and be better, right? And because this is I don't remember in the early 2000s, a lot of lawsuits that came out with owners being just
Crossing the line. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was pre that. So we felt like, you know,
Let's expose this shit.
Not expose it, but sort of, you know, kind of bring some light to that. Like,
Yes,
what's it
you're
like
right.
to work here, right?
Right.
So that was successful, and but unfortunately, you know, we were ahead of the curve. We don't, you know, smartphones weren't around, so apps weren't there. So in order for you to log in, you had to physically go on your computer and type in shifting.com,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And then access the site.
Wait for the AOL guy to run across the screen and connect.
So we were way ahead of the curve as far as that goes, but we were able to gather over 20,000 New York City hospitality professionals to join.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
For that
really
time,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, hell
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we even had Eater do a spread on us,
Wow.
and Eater would take some of our stories and occasionally put them on their site, and you know, so that was, you know, it was something. But just as usual, restaurant people.
We need a interest group about what it's like to work at Shift Drink.
You know,
and
it's like, hey, buddy, you know,
we're not called the revolving door for nothing.
you know,
Winston,
it's
you know?
like, you know, and remember, because everybody's doing this, no one's getting paid, right?
Yes.
So everybody's doing this because they love it.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of artistry in the business, so everybody's trying to create some sort of a portfolio and sort of create some sort of work database of what they've done. So a lot of writers would come in and be like, yeah, I want to write for you guys because this helps me, and I have some digital archive of what I've accomplished. So it did have some strong legs, but we were just way ahead of the curve.
Okay, well.
Yeah. So that Shift Drink died, and
then Yelp came in and forget about it. It's over
So
now.
that died off, and then from there, I got an opportunity to open a restaurant in Chelsea, and I jumped on it. And
But more specifically, where exactly? Where were you?
I was 2 doors down from Marquee.
Yeah.
And initially was amazing, but that experience led me to this path, because when we did that deal, I didn't have good representation. I was young, I was green, I was eager, I wanted to be an owner, I felt like I needed to be part of the city, and I wanted to have my stamp, you know, like, hey, I'm here, I've made it, and you know, all this hard work that I've put in means something, right? I had a young family, my daughter was a year old, so yeah, we took this space, and it was fun in the beginning. But then the city changed, laws changed, clubs got shut down. Next thing was just Marquee, me, and Scores around the corner. And, you know, you open your doors and no one's coming in.
And this is, what year is this?
This is 08, 09. And also the city's going through the 08 recession.
So, you know, it's important that you say these things because this is happening 08, 09. Obviously, we know what happened in 08 and 09. But you can hear the same things being said today. The owners that are opening their doors and nobody's coming in. It's 2025 now, and we could talk about, you know, we're post-pandemic, or that we're also going through some sort of recession and that the economy is in a rough place. So this is something that you hear commonly with bar owners. I don't think that it's honestly something that we never hear.
No, it's not unique, but then at that time it was really scary.
Yes.
It was really, and for me at the time, it's like part of it also is because I signed the worst deal in the worst.
You signed the worst deal in the world, and we're going to talk about that, because I think that a lot of people, exactly to what you said, I have experience being a consultant, so I was able to see these things kind of firsthand. But just to what you said about people coming here and wanting to carve out their piece of the pie, or cut their slice of it, and they love this city so much and they do want to have some ownership. And this is this very unforgiving city that, doesn't really want to be owned because she's wild, and you can never really truly can own her because she's always changing, right? So you can't harness down a unicorn. You can't do something like that. But we all want to be a part of that energy and be a part of New York City, which makes people feel alive. And I think that, it's very difficult for someone that is first time. Like, there is no manual. There is no manual that says, don't let a landlord, make you sign a personal guarantee. There is no
And
manual.
they're still asking for him, by the way.
That was I think we know firsthand. And so when you do want that and you're not sure of what's, going to lie ahead, but you have this exciting opportunity in front of you, you say yes.
No, I was young. I had a young family. I was like, okay, working in the service side of the business it's not sustainable. You got to think about, what am I going to do in the future? Where do I go with this? If I give this up now, if I walk away. And by the way, what made it even harder and more difficult was the fact that I was making a lot of money prior to that working at Tao.
Mm-hmm.
We were the highest grossing restaurant in the country. This is before Tao Vegas opened.
Mm-hmm.
And when Vegas opened, we were number 2 or number 3. I mean, the average server was doing what? $1.5 million in sales, making a lot of money.
Yeah.
As a server.
Yes.
As a bartender.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you walk away from that to go get a 9 to 5 or whatever.
To get your big your adult job.
Yeah.
Because it's that time, because
Yeah.
it's the family, because you need
Because
something
it's
that's,
just, yeah.
You can't just be a career bartender,
Yeah, you can't
because
just be,
you
you
got to
know,
grow up, Winston.
I remember my in-laws saying to me, so what are you going to do?
What are you going to do with your life?
I'm like, do you understand how much money I'm bringing?
Yeah, they don't understand. Oh my gosh, if I could go back 20 years when I was bartending a bit.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was fortunate that I was able to save enough money to open up a bar and also to buy my home. Right? I was able to buy my house.
Yes. I was able to open up a bar in New York City.
Yeah.
With all the money I made being a bartender.
But that's what I'm saying. So it's like, but you get to a point where you say, all right, this is not sustainable for me as an individual, right? Not because the industry is bad or whatever. It's like, there has to be more. I wanted more. My soul was yearning for more. So I knew I needed more. So when I got the deal, I was like, I got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it was presented to me, looking back, they saw me coming, like, they're like, oh, this dude is green. It's almost like they knew, like, what was going to happen, and they're like, just get him in, let him pay the rent, let him pay the taxes. When he's done, we'll just milk him dry and he can, move on to the next. And that's what happened. I signed the wrong deal. And initially it didn't really matter because I was making a lot of money, because there was about maybe 8 or 9 clubs around me. So all I had to do was open my door,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody that could not get into those clubs
Was getting into yours.
would come in.
Yeah.
In the pregame at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Post, because now it's like you can't get in, so now you have to regroup and be like, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go? What's in there? Like, let's hang out, and what I mean? They're like, oh, let's just get a bottle here and hang out. So I didn't have to do much. It took me 2 weeks. Me and my partner, we revamped the space, exposed some brick, put new shelving, got new banquettes, went to IKEA and got some furniture,
IKEA for the win, man.
And we created a beautiful space.
2-week demo.
No permits, nothing.
Wow. What a time to be alive.
Right?
That's amazing.
Just put some brown paper on the walls.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And did this 2-week demo.
Yeah.
Right? I remember we needed an electrician, and I was like, couldn't get anybody because, no electrician's coming in to do some work that is not signed off. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Got some guy in Jersey to show up.
There's always a guy. You got to get the guy.
What he had to do, we got the lighting in. We opened up this amazing, beautiful place. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful space.
Yeah.
And he did what he did. But at the end of the day, yeah.
So what were some of the things that, you mentioned that you signed a bad deal.
Yeah.
What were some of the legs of that would constitute a deal as being bad? Because I feel like you and I know that. Yeah. But a first time operator doesn't know what those red flags are to look like. We all know in dating, like if he doesn't call you after 3 days, if he, only hits you up after 1 a.m., we know what those red flags are. But being a potential bar owner, restaurant owner, what are some of those red flags that you didn't see coming when you went?
Well, first thing was not understanding what it meant to sign a personal guarantee.
Okay, so that's huge.
Huge.
That's huge.
Huge.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Right.
Right? When they say, hey, we need a 2-year curve out where you have to guarantee this lease.
Personally, as in Winston Gatonga, the human, is responsible. Anything that is yours, it is responsible, no longer the company's, which is, why we know, I actually learned this, first and foremost from Steve, working for CVD. I knew every single entity, its own company, its own business.
Yeah.
Definitely, signing a personal guarantee, you're signing in blood. You're basically saying what's mine is yours.
Exactly.
And you can't sign those.
Yeah.
You can't sign those.
And also, it wasn't even like the broker who helped me with the deal said, hey, maybe we can offset that personal guarantee by maybe putting a higher deposit and then do a burn down. No, that information, not even, it's just, you need to guarantee 2 years. But it's like, but then the idea was, don't worry about it. Look at all this business around you. You're going to be fine. Right? So, personal guarantee.
This is like getting married without a prenup. Who does that? So
second thing was the taxes.
Yeah. That's something that nobody thinks about when they don't think about that, or, it's like any of these things where you accept the terms and you just kind of scroll through a bunch of things and you're like, yes, 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 because I just want it so badly. They don't stop to read the fine print. Not only do they stop to read the fine print, but they don't know that information really is accessible to them. It's free information, the taxes on the building previously, what the increases are going to be, what your share should be. But that's not something that a first-time bar owner is going to think about.
Thinking about, right?
How many stories is this building? How many ways are the taxes going to be divided up? Am I going to be responsible for what percentage of the building?
What percentage of the taxes for this building, whether it's a 3-story building, a 6-story building, 8, 15, what am I paying, right?
Right.
What is my share? Am I paying the base? Am I paying the increase over base? What am I paying? No clue. So here I am, green, young, trying to make a mark, ready to make a mark for my name, and I signed this document that says I am 100% responsible for the taxes, not just the base, but the whole taxes of the building.
Damn, baby. Whoa. Okay, so you did a deal with the devil.
Yep.
You did a deal with the devil, and I think that. I don't like to use the term regret or mistake, right?
No.
These are, it's only a mistake if we don't learn something from it and if we don't take from it. And, being who you are, inherently who you are in your soul, you're always somebody, I always refer to you as like my cheerleader. I can come at you with literally any shit and you're just like, it's going to be okay, or it's going to be better. It is who you are. So, I know that for, some people, they would have gone in one direction, but you decided to essentially take that deal with the devil that you signed and then turn into the people's Robin Hood.
I felt like that was what I needed to experience so that as I transitioned into the real estate side, which, by the way, was weird in itself because once I closed the bar, I went back into service. And my old buddy, Julian, calls me and he goes, and now Julian and I met at Tao. We're both bartenders. He gets his license and he goes to Florida, to Jacksonville, to work on a real estate development, put together some residential housings. 2008 happens. The developer loses his shirt, so Julian's back in town. Julian gets a job at CAM with a small boutique real estate firm, and he calls me out of the blue and like, hey, dude, we should have lunch. And that's how I got into the business. He recruited me and I got in. And then, but what was great about that was I was able to use that negative experience that I went through to sort of help first-time operators, new operators coming in, sort of understand. Because at the end of the day, in my business, your truth, right, is your currency. Right, what you bring to the table is your currency.
Yes.
Right. It's we work. It's a very tough industry. It's a very cutthroat industry. We work in the best and the toughest market in the world. It's New York City. You can't make it here, you're done. So you got to make it, right? There is no do-overs. You got to just keep at it, right? So if I do a deal and I offer you the worst deal in the world, the chances of you ever coming back to me or referring me for your second location or even to another operator is done. Your reputation is done. Then you go down as the worst broker in history. So you can't afford to have that. So having that experience, I was like, okay, I'm gonna help people get the best deal. I'm gonna champion them to get the best deal.
And that's exactly what you are.
That's all I do.
You are the people's champion. You are the people's Robin Hood. And it's obviously, what you were for me. You were exactly that. And, I came in 2014. The last job that I held in the industry was working for CBD and working for the sugar factories. And I had already felt like I was checking out of working for somebody else when I was working, over at the Yankee Stadium and doing the bars and working in the clubs and doing singles mixers and mojito bars and build your own Bloody Marys, all these different things to generate more income and just working as hard as I did. I thought, well, if I can do this for them and make them money and take, an establishment or an entity or a name like the Yankees and make them even more money, I got to be able to do something for myself.
Yeah.
But then, I got the call and an opportunity came up and I opened the sugar factory and meatpacking, and that was, again, an experience. But that was probably the last one that I really needed because I was a part of that from demo to the finish line and was something that I was able to see. It was an experience, just like you say.
Yeah.
And we go through these experiences so that we can pay it forward and we can help others do the same. And when I was finally ready, I was ready. It's just like anything. When you know it, you feel it in your bones, you feel it in your gut. I was back in Vegas. I missed New York so much. I missed my friends. I missed my life. I was working so hard so much. I was like, well, it's time. I'm going to open my own place.
Yeah.
So came back to New York, took a couple months off, had all the dinners, and I was able to catch up. And I was like, all right, it's time for me to get an agent. I'm going to just open my own place in New York City. So I did that. I got an agent and told this agent, what I wanted to do and what my ideas were. And I remember he showed me, I think, 2 spaces, and I was like, no, this is terrible. These spaces are terrible. Like it was, one of these like small rectangular types of spaces that I can't stand, and had no character, had no life. And I was like, no. And I said no, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times. He was like, okay, it's just you're done. You're done. Like it's not gonna work. And so he dropped me. And then obviously, we won't name any names, but maybe we'll post this and tag them because they know who they are.
Do you remember the one broker that said to me, Winston, you're wasting your time with Cortney. You will never make a penny with him.
You are wasting your time with Cortney. Can we tag him?
No,
come on, I'm kidding.
I don't know if he's still in the business, but is this...
3 spaces later, I think you've made $1, right? You made $1.
But it's not even about that. It's just this idea that, and I feel for first-time operators because everybody's a first-time operator.
Yeah, but let's get real, right? I'm not just a first-time operator.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not just a first-time operator. I'm a chick.
Yeah.
I was a chick.
Yeah.
I was a chick that didn't have a rich husband, rich boyfriend, rich uncle, rich anything. I was a first-time. We always talk about our dynamic. You're black. I'm a chick. We walk into a place. Nobody wants to deal with us, right? And we were those underdogs. And when I say underdog, like you were the only one that stood by me and helped me carry my heart, carry my load, as I was turned down for 3 years. 3 years. We were treated a certain way by agents, by landlords. They, But
I'll tell you what, they still do that today. Not with you, but I just had a meeting last week. I took a group to talk to a landlord's office. We sit down. This guy is showing a ton of money, over $3 million. I got a landlord here asking this guy, and this guy has multiple restaurants. He's like, do you know how to run a restaurant? Do you know what the intricacy of... I'm like, dude, the guy has $3 million. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong questions, and you're pissing him off.
Yeah. And it's because they want certain people. I mean,
because what you bring to the table is not what they think, right? It's like...
It's not your look, or they're judging on other things.
They're judging on other things.
And
this is where if you're not an experienced broker, this will kill the deal.
Yeah.
And so I had to rein it on, bring it back to the table and say, listen, guys, I think we're going down the wrong path here. I think you want these guys as your tenant. There's track record, there's enough money, you should be comfortable.
Well, I definitely know, and we've experienced this where, the landlord's heated, I'm heated, we are not, and you're always able to calm the situation down, and you always want to make it work.
Yeah.
You always want to
That's my
make it work.
job.
It is your job. It is your job to make it work, and it's not always going to work right off the bat.
No.
Nothing sometimes works right off the bat. You have to change things, you have to fix things, and especially, people getting together, and you are essentially, putting together two people for at least a decade.
It's a marriage.
It's a marriage. It's an absolute marriage, and
matchmaking.
A matchmaking.
I'm doing
and
matchmaking.
You are. Just call you Cupid. Just call you Cupid. And you do want to find the right tenant for the right landlord, because what works for some tenants with their landlords doesn't work for others. But it is a very intimate relationship, and it is your livelihood. The future business owner, it is depending on whether it's their life savings or maybe it's just money that they have, but you're stuck with these people.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be good. You have to be able to get through hard times together. So that's why it's really important in the very beginning that you work well together on those hurdles or on those bumps. And that's what you're there for, is to be the mediator, to be the therapist, to be the one, there have been many times where you've had to cool me down, and we'll go off into our corner like, are they fucking kidding me or whatever? Or then they're going to be like, she's this, that, or the other. And you cool everybody down, as you should. You get us back to the table, because we're in business and we need to do business. And emotion, once you let that go.
Yeah, once we let egos go. And
Yes.
I've had deals where I'm working with a broker and it's just all ego. And I'm like, dude, you need to stop that, because, our business is one of the only businesses in the city right now where it's all success for the most part. Especially as independent brokers, we're success driven.
Yeah.
I don't get a check on Friday.
Right.
I get paid when the deal is finally, when the ink dries.
Yes.
And now with the city, with these new laws and everything that's going on and everything, things get delayed and delayed and delayed. So egos have to be put aside. We got to do business. We're here to do business.
Yes.
Right.
And not only, yes, it's important. Obviously, it's a commission sales based type of position. Like, you only get paid when it does well. But back to what you said previously is, yeah, you could force, round peg, square hole. Maybe you could get that signature, that ink will dry and you'll get a paycheck. But if it doesn't last well for either of them, you've now turned off a landlord and you've turned off a tenant and
a client.
A client. And
that's a relationship that's down the drain.
Yes.
That I cannot salvage.
Right. And because especially, landlords, they don't just own one building. They can own multiple buildings, multiple chunks of the city. So if you've put a bad taste in their mouth, they're not going to want to listen to you. Right.
It's like all of a sudden you're not getting through, your emails are not being responded to, or they're not being responded with a certain sense of urgency. So we can't have that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we need to make sure as brokers we are doing, it's not about my interest, it's my client's interest. And there are times when I have to put my interest aside, right? I need to get paid, but if this is not going to work for my client, I'm not forcing my client to do this deal.
Right. And that's something that you never did for me. While there were times that, you maybe made me rethink my position on something, my response per se, but you never forced me to do a deal. Not that I'm actually one that can be forced to do anything.
Everybody knows Cortney. I don't think
we know I'm not really that easy to make do anything, but it's really important that, to stand by somebody for 3 years, because people have the dreams of coming to this city just to live here, just to exist here. Then you have the dream of owning something in this city. But then, oh my gosh, what if you have the dream of being something global? What if you have the dream of, not just owning in New York City, but all over the world? And I think that for me, you talked about that little voice inside of you that always wanted something more. And this is just, that little voice keeps me up at night, keeps me up and keeps me going, is that fire inside of me. It lives within. I always want something more. I always want to be challenged. What's the next? What's the next? You know me. And it was like, okay, I'm going to open up one place. And everyone's like, oh, you made your dream come true. You opened up a bar. And I'm like, this is not my dream. This is not my dream to just open one place. What's next? And then it was, let's see spaces. As soon as the deal is done on one, I'm like, what are we seeing next week?
What's next? What are we doing next week?
What are we seeing next week? As a matter of fact, what are we seeing after this? So it's something that, because we also know, if we had all the time in the world, and, eventually it'll be in a book, the types of deals that we were so close on, some of the ones where, and we're going to have to touch on De Niro, but some of the places that we really thought were ours were not ours. Some heartbreaking moments, some actual heartbreaking moments. And you are somebody that I've known you now for 11 years, and I think I've seen you get angry once. One time, maybe you got angry. You were angry at the way that we were treated, and I'm just always angry. But you never get angry, which is obviously why, we're perfect together. But yeah, we've been through some shit. We've been through some shit over the course of 11 years, and those first 3 years, it was no,
It was no, no, no.
It was no,
First
no,
time
no.
operator, not enough money, not
Yeah.
enough this, not enough that.
Who's this girl? What is she thinking?
What are you doing?
We would
Stop
go
it.
to places and they would just talk to you, even though I was like, hey,
Yeah,
here I am.
it's like, hey, like I'm just the broker.
Yeah.
She is the operator.
But you
Talk
were
to her.
you were the guy in the room, so
Oh, yeah,
that sometimes that's all that matters. So and not for nothing, because I don't want to take away that I had this experience where I came to the table as a first time operator. Technically, but I also had the knowledge under my belt. I wasn't green. I knew not to sign a personal guarantee. I knew not to, if there was a demo clause, I knew what to ask for or when to ask for it.
Can you imagine how many operators have signed demo clauses?
Oh, yes.
Because they want that deal?
Yes. And that's something that, I was fortunate with my past experience. And so that's why it was also harder. They knew that they were not going to be able to just get me to sign something. They knew that it was going to have to be a real, even my friends can't set me up. So I had to find somebody that really was going to find the right landlord. And then, then it happened. It happened for us in 2016. And, we had a budget. We had an idea in mind. We were close on a couple of spaces. So close, if you'll remember. Mulberry and Grand, those original landlords of Little Italy. We dined, we business planned, we tiramisu'd, we Chianti'd, and then I tell
you got dressed up for them.
I got dressed. I'm sure I washed my hair, and that was back when I would wear like skirts and button-down shirts. When I was a professional. So now here I am, guys. And you called me. It was like you sounded like your dog had just died. You were so deflated. You were so heartbroken, and I heard it in your voice, and I was like, no, like. We were there. We're so there. And it was De Niro, right? That took the space, and it was like, and I'm going to have De Niro on the pod one day. Don't worry. I'm going to get him on. I'm going to be like, remember that space? Remember that space you took from me? So when that happened, I was like, I can't do this. I can't play this game. I'm never going to win. If I'm competing, first of all, I'm competing with all the other people that have maybe more money, Nepo babies that have money that want to open places. But now I'm competing with celebrities that can easily get a deal.
Let's get a deal.
So what am I doing? What the hell am I doing? So I, took a fallback career just like anyone. And,
Gotta pay rent.
I fell into hedge funds.
You
that's
you gotta pay rent.
Yeah, you gotta pay rent.
Gotta pay rent.
And I took a job working. I actually first took a job bartending at Ashton's Alley. They were hiring for the World Cup was playing. They needed a bartender just for one day a week, and I was like, I cannot believe I'm going to be a bartender again. Like it's been 20 years. I got to do it, right? And I say this all the time, that food and beverage is always that air mattress for you. It's always there to pick it up or put it down, one night stand or till death do us part. Like it's always there for you. And it was there for me. Yeah. And so because after taking time off and looking, now my savings are being depleted. This is money that was supposed to go towards a build out. So I was like, I had to get a job. And I did. I got a job. I don't remember working with this bartender. His name was Scully. He was from Cork. He was the grumpiest man you had ever met. But he was a king. You would walk in, you want a margarita, and he's like, there's a Dos Caminos around the corner. Or you wanted an espresso martini, he's like, there's a Starbucks around the corner.
Just shots of Jameson in a bud? That's it? That's
Whiskey and beer.
That's my kind of guy.
And, but we ended up being like this perfect dynamic duo, and I worked there, and we worked at 325 3rd Ave. 825 3rd Avenue. And that was a building that had BTIG in it, and it had a lot of financial groups. BlackRock was also in there. And it was this man and this woman that would come down, and like clockwork, they would have a cigarette before they came in. When they came in, he had a Blue Moon and a Jameson on the rocks, and she had a Pinot Noir, like clockwork. Came down, cigarette, sat down. And then it was after I had gotten to know them, and they wanted to be my friend, but I didn't want any friends. So I didn't want any friends. I just wanted.
I'm here to make money.
I'm here to give you your drink, make sure that it's never empty and that you have a clean space. But I could not believe here I am back after everything I had been through, everywhere that I worked.
Sugar factory and
everything.
And
I'm bartending again, but here I am. And then it was after that, and the gentleman, his name's Charlie, and he was like, what's your life? What are you doing here? You're not a bartender. I'm like, I'm a bartender. Just bro, drink your drink and just let me, just please. And after the De Niro situation, I was so brokenhearted that I ended up telling these two what
What happened?
what my life was, what it was. And he's like, come work for me. He's like, I have a hedge fund. I said, no. I said, the last thing I want to do is work in the financial industry. I don't know anything about finance. I don't want the vest. I was like, I can't do this. And he's like, let's just try it. Let's just try it. So I did. I walked into that industry not knowing anything. I made less money working than I did when I was 15 years old because I didn't know what to ask for. I went from making six plus figures to making, measly two I wasn't able to pay my rent. The guy that I was dating at the time was buying me groceries, and Frank, of course. And I was like, wow, I'm gonna have to go back to Las Vegas. Like New York won.
I'm done.
I'm done. I was so. But then, and I had told them when I was hired, I was like, any minute now, I'm going to get a space on my own. Any minute. I'm going to get a space. Yeah. 3 years later, I was director of operations with them. I was deeply braided in the entire the fund and was doing so much, learned so much. And then 3 years of looking at spaces with you. And then 2016, it finally happened. Yeah. It finally happened, and we got those 2 studio apartments and that nail salon, and we did the deal on all 3 of those spaces. Remember, we didn't even see the second studio apartment. We couldn't even get in.
Somebody was living there or something like that.
And I did not have it in mind with the budget to do like a full demo like that. I was like, we need something more cosmetic because that's what I can afford. And then 2017 November, we opened up UES. Yeah. That's ice cream shop speakeasy with a storage room and back. Yeah. So, and so now here we are.
But can I tell you, when you opened that space, I was blown. Because, you think you know what your client's idea, you kind of have you spend 3 years together. I'm like, I kind of know what you want to open. I kind of have an idea of aesthetics of what it is
you're seen her crazy outfits,
But you're like, I walked into that space. And I remember just saying to myself, what am I looking at right now? This is insane, right? And that never stopped. This place. Yeah.
So, it's so funny.
Look at this room. Beautiful.
So so sweet. UES is my baby, is my first child, right? Yeah. You're an actual father, so I don't have children of my own, but these are my children. And I look at UES and that minimal build out, which was still $350,000 and still not anything to scoff at. But I did do the work myself. I had to hire the contractor that I could afford, which we know Juan Carlos is the man of my nightmares. And I had to do the work myself because I couldn't afford a designer. I couldn't afford anybody else to come in and do it. And also the way that I walk into a space is like, I have to feel it. And then it comes alive for me. I wasn't sure. And I always have to see things. I was like, should the bar be here? So then I set up the bar. But I'm like, no, I want to see it turn the corner. And should it be here? And that I love to go to places. It's what I genuinely love to do. And so London's one of my favorite cities. And I was at the Savoy. And the bar there, they had these 3 gorgeous gold domes at the bar. Everyone that's been to the Savoy in London knows this bar. Yep. And I was like, I would love to have something like that. But how do you go about gold domes, right? So I'm like on Google and I'm like brass NYC. And then of course like a couple places in the city and, kind of reached out to them and it was just like one piece of brass was like so expensive. So then after the deep dive, I find this brass place, my brass guy, in Trenton, New Jersey. And it's a couple hours away, right?
Yeah,
Jersey, 2 hours away. So I had to drive out there, met with Bob. Bob, oh my gosh, Bob is no longer with us. But that entire family, they are still my family. And now I make it a point to put brass from them every single
in every space you have.
And they made these domes. And you know me, I had to, and they could not believe it when I showed up to pick up those domes because shipping these things wasn't going to happen and they charged an insane delivery fee. And so I rented that U-Haul and I showed up. It was raining, it was storming. The guy I was dating at the time, because he had to drive me there and he drove behind me. And we got there and he's like, oh, they were like talking to him like, okay, so they're telling him like, okay, after you're driving, be careful. And he's like, oh, I'm not driving. And they're like, she's driving. Like, yeah, I'm driving. Put the domes in the back. Like, we got to get back to the city.
We got to go.
Let's go. So I drove these 3 domes and then, they were put up and UES is going to be 8 this November, and
8 years.
yeah,
Congrats.
8 years. Yeah, thank you. And
Congrats.
she's still super special, right? She's
She
still
is.
super
She
special
is.
sitting inside there, even though, knowing what I know now, I remember when they first asked me, because, if you don't come with the architect, with the blueprint, with the designer, they don't know how to build it out. So it was me just kind of designing and building on the fly. And they're like, well, where do you want the outlets? I'm like, the outlets. I was like, I don't know. You could put one here, one here. Now I know the answer is you put outlets absolutely everywhere. I put an outlet on top of an outlet, 2 inches away from an outlet, an outlet anywhere. And you also now know 3 places later that I am the place where you can charge your phone right underneath my bar. There's chargers
It's
there.
funny because now I go to bars and I'm always looking for charger. I'm like,
Yeah,
what is this?
Where am I? Why can't I just plug in with a cord that's actually attached to the bar? It's still like mind blowing, but then, we have them everywhere. So, yeah, UES, she's my special baby. And here we are now, fast forward to 2025, 3 spaces later, 3 4 AM liquor licenses. And you've been the agent and the champion of them all. And, you're obviously 11 years later, you're not just my real estate agent. You're one of my best friends. You're one of my best friends. And, I say this a lot. I tell the story of my personal story is, the story of the little red hen. Right, the story of the little red hen is the little red hen, decides that she wants to bake some bread, and so she asks the little turtle, like, "Hi, will you help me bake some bread?" Or she's got the seed and it turns into flour, and will you help me? He's like, "No, no, no, I'm too busy for that." And then she asks the little dog on the farm, and she's like, "No, no, no, I'm too busy for that." And then asks one other animal, and he's too busy for that too. And then so she's like, "All right, I'm gonna bake this bread," and then she bakes it, and then all of a sudden it smells so good. All of a sudden all the animals are coming by, and they're like, "What is that?" She's like, "Well, I just baked this bread." And like, "Well, can I have a piece?" And she's like, "Well, no, you didn't want to help. You didn't want to help me bake this bread. You didn't want to help me plant this seed and harvest this flour. And Winston, you have helped me bake this bread. And since the very, very beginning, since the seed actually was planted, you have been there from the start. And, any bread I bake, anything, I don't bake. Who are we kidding? Seamless, come on. Anything that I do in my life will always be yours as well. Because
Well, we're in this journey together. This is what we've created. And I got to say that my favorite story is this place. We walked into this place and I did not see it at all. I was like, there's no way. Like, okay, okay, great. Awesome. Told the brokers, guys, thanks a lot. It was awesome.
Chinese dim sum, kanji dim sum house.
Yeah.
Red lanterns everywhere. Couple of kitties.
Yeah.
Hello Kitties everywhere.
Weird colors on the wall.
Yeah, brown wood tables.
Yeah. I'm like, no, this is not it. But you are like, this is it.
This is it.
I'm like, no. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it was it. And it's it.
Now it's like, I give up. I was like, all right, I'm done questioning Cortney and trying to figure out what's going on in your brain and what you're thinking. And so I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's important,
And with that being said, my point is, I never, ever, I'm like, for me, it's a journey. So going along with you as you bake your bread, I'm just amazed at how amazing different styles of loaf you're creating I'm like, wow, who knew? Amazing.
Taylor Swift is currently baking rainbow sourdough. So this is what we're making right now. We're going to try out some rainbow sourdough because, that's exactly what it is. And me, I always want to try different things. And it's important that everyone finds their people, right? That's what's really it's about is finding their people. You have a young daughter. She just turned.
She's 18.
Yeah.
She just took her to college.
You just dropped her off at college.
Yeah.
And that can be a very scary place where you may want to fit in or you may want to, and I say this to young girls, young boys, young anyone, is that, really hold out who's for you.
Yeah.
You can find your tribe. You can find your people. I always refer to it as my small council, my ride or dies, the people that I know are going to be by me. And when you find those people, you can accomplish anything. Because sometimes I question you guys. You guys, you think what I do is great. I'm like, I think you guys are the problem. But the truth is that, while I do these things alone, I don't do them alone. I do them with you guys carrying me on days where I want to quit, where I want to tap out. I've had enough. Every single bomb that could possibly explode has exploded. And then on top of it, I'm being buried in rock and I can barely catch air. And and it's like, I hold out and you guys are like, keep going, keep going.
It's like being part of like you work out. So it's like, when you professional fighters, you have a team behind you, right? You have your managers, you have your coach, your sparring partners, right? At the end of the day, you have to go and defend your title. But you have that team that's really built you up to get you to that place where you can go out and be the best that you can be.
Yes.
And that's I'm just happy to be part of this journey with you.
Yes, well, and as we continue this journey, I will remember so that we put it here on the internet, because on the internet it can live forever. You were showing me a space because I wanted to open up a next concept, and we were in the East Village. We had gone to 787 Coffee, and then I was so excited about the idea of this podcast, and I remember telling you about it as we were walking to the next space, and I was like, Winston, I want to do a podcast the same way that you started your business because you wanted to tell the stories of others. I was like, I want to tell the stories of others, because listen to your story, listen to the hell you went through, listen to my story, and listen to how our stories came together to tell this really beautiful tale of Robin Hood and his merry men, or Batman and Robin, or whatever it may be. But that's all we can do. It's all we can do in this life, is live it, work hard, and then take what we've done and pay it forward to the next. It makes everything worth it, and life is about the journey. So if it's about the journey, you got to make sure that the people that you're going,
The people you're traveling with,
that they're your people,
they're your
and they
people.
make
You got to
that
find
journey.
your tribe, whatever that is, right? And that's the
Yeah.
reason why we love restaurants, right? Because there's all different kind of misfits that come together and form this beautiful family.
Yes.
And create amazing, like all my best memories besides at home are with people that I've worked with in the business.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
friends after today, my oldest, longest friends, people that I've had from Tao days.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My oldest buddies are guys that I worked with in Hooligans back in the 90s.
Yep.
So guys who are, my buddies is the godfather of my daughter, right? So it's like, these are relationships that you keep. It's your people, you find your tribe, and you march with them, and you create a beautiful life together if you can.
Hell yeah. Cheers
Yeah.
to that, Winston. Winston Gatongo. We are. So we sip champagne. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
So
for
we
having
sip
me.
yes.
Yeah.
Now we sip whiskey when we thirsty, baby.
There you go.
Cheers.
Love it.